To your donut, you eat it. I'm your host, Sean. Man, I keep learning stuff every day. Every time I think I've learned enough about what my chosen profession is, I find a new skill or learn something new that makes my job even more interesting and makes it better. Long story short, it looks like I'm a third of the way home for getting all that wireless stuff back online and replaced. But it reminds me, and it's a very humbling reminder, that I'm always and will always be a lifelong learner. You know, I never like to think of myself as an expert, but a lot of people tell me I'm an expert in a lot of weird things. Some of them I actually do for work. It's just, I know better people. I know people that are better at it. Yes, I can be skilled. Yes, in some places I'm actually cocky, and that's one of them is in my data center. That said, it's also very humbling to have one of my cohorts who's always got my back despite all the stuff that's going on in his life or mine. He always backs me up, makes my life at work so much better, but so do all my people. And now I'm at full strength again, meaning I have 3 field techs. I have the person over the field techs that can research and develop software stuff, deployment stuff for the department that I run. The only downfall I have right now, and so I guess I'm not fully staffed, I was just thinking about this. My assistant, or my secretary. She has a very long, complicated job title, but in essence, she's still a secretary to me. That said, this lady is every bit of skilled, every bit as awesome. Her husband, as I said before in a previous podcast, was in a very untimely accident, and he's going through several surgeries, and she's there with him. So I am down a very key player in a very busy time of the year for me. But I'm making progress and I'm learning. And so are the people around me. The thing that bothers me the most about trying to be a lifelong learner is that there are some people so set in their ways that they won't try to learn. You know, I understand ignorance. I have a problem with willful ignorance sometimes. And it's because if you're willing to sit there and watch people struggle because you won't learn something yourself to help them out, I have a problem with that. That's why I'm in the gig that I'm in for a professional life. My job has never been about trying to show how highfalutin and how educated I am in my particular field. It's to make the tech work so well that it's like a pen or a pencil, that my end users don't even know I'm there. So I don't like having spotlights on me, because to me have always seen it as a partial failure. I don't mind the recognition. I love the recognition for my people. They deserve it. I guess sometimes so do I. But my problem with it is it breaks the premise and philosophy, I guess you would say, about how I approach IT. IT to me is a service or a utility. My people, my staff, the people directly under me and the people I serve, depend on me to do a lot of the heavy end lifting with servers, networks, Wi-Fi networks in this case, that they just don't have the skill set for or have the time for. Problem is, lately, I've been so stretched because we're at the beginning of a new school year. And that's right, I've said it before, I work for schools. I still have some reservations about going away from the government completely. The schools, mostly, I see as a good because I think of the staff I work with. If they're really that, and I have no doubt that they're there, so don't take this as me trying to shill for the other people in my team. I will to some degree, but here's where it comes from. I don't see the uber woke CRT crap. And it's not because I'm not involved in the classroom stuff or see it. Yes, it is very possible that a teacher does pull that out and does manage to do it or teach that type of stuff. But it's not with the blessing of administrators. In fact, if anything, I've been told more so now than ever, let's not approach sex at all. That's not something we need to be there. Is this appropriate for the age? That's the big thing that keeps being pushed in my purview, my area. So I get defensive when people start talking about education, public education. I'm a product of public education. And I seem to do pretty well, pretty okay for myself. It took a lot of hard work and effort. But I know a lot of people that are in the same boat. I know a lot of entrepreneurs that never went to college, that are doing very well, either in real estate or investing. They're just good at what they do. That speaks to raw talent. And as much as I don't believe I have it, but that's more so back to how my upbringing happened with my upbringing, let's put it that way. See, I talk about that and I start getting verklempt and all ass backwards. But I do have raw talent when it comes to IT. It's a weird thing for me to see that I can touch a keyboard and a mouse and make things happen. And when I say things happen, let me tell you what's so great about being in education and why I haven't left. Because I know I could work in industry. It's because I see teachers that are underpaid buying a meal for a homeless kid. I see teachers every day buying a set of shoes for a kid who has been wearing last year's shoes and has barely made it to where they don't fit them anymore. I'm not talking about just taking care of a kid. I'm talking about they're trying to teach them how to be better humans. And that's why as much as people bitch about indoctrination, I'd like to really approach this, and I will, and I've said it before, I will do this in another podcast, where there is a time and a place for indoctrination. We use it in the military, and I know you're saying, well, why would we do that for children? I'm saying that we need to instill American values in children, an American mindset in children. And right now, there's a group of people that either exhibit the worst of the American value system, or they're pushing anti-American value system. And the only reason why these people were ever allowed to even think like that is because they grew up in our society. Everyone in the United States, to some degree, is indoctrined. Whether we took it from the Constitution or we took it from our own belief system, our belief system was founded and built around us growing up in the greatest country on planet Earth. And while everybody's worried about Biden right now, and I am too, I think he's a clown, if you couldn't tell. I'm not a total Trump geek, but I can tell you Trump was better, and I think he would have been the better choice. I don't believe because I've worked in Bureau of Elections in the northwest corner of New Mexico, and I've seen how elections get taken care of. When I say taken care of, ran from behind, and I've seen them from the front. So I know what goes into it, and I know the integrity of the people running it. At least in my neighborhood or in my neck of the woods, these people, that is sacred to them, the integrity of the vote. And they welcome an audit. If you want to audit them, go ahead. It's just more work for them, but they'll do it. I still believe there are parts of them, the American identity, that need to be instilled in every man, woman, and child in the United States. Because the more we demonize these things, the more we start dividing and conquering again. And that's where we're at right now. We have one group who's determined to show another group that they're wrong, and here's why they're wrong. We have another group that doesn't care about that, and all they care about is power. How do you reconcile this? Now, I've looked into this a lot. I've become a student of geopolitics because of this type of thing. I'm not the best there, but I think I'm well read. And what they keep saying about in geopolitics about this is that we've had this type of event in American culture at least 7 times before. We always make it out of it. And while the rest of the world has had a decline in population that is massive and almost terminal in some cases, or is terminal in some cases, the United States hasn't. And while the greater world is facing famine, we will be facing slightly higher prices. It's going to be painful because, well, slightly higher prices always is painful. Inflation is a tax that no person can escape. And there's really nothing, it's sad to say this, that can fix inflation other than quit printing money. And until somebody starts having that conversation in the government. Now, this has went full circle, and it's kind of gotten long and gibberish, but it makes sense to me in that the American ideal, the American culture is worth saving. So there is something to be said about some form of indoctrination, some form of education that gives us the raw basics of what we need to be an American citizen. And yes, I said citizen. Like, share, subscribe, be great.